to see if we could get the way to start, just to get your reaction on some of the bullet points I captured for the near, mid, long-term paths forward. And would like to, if it's okay with you all, do just a round robin to have everybody just either give a comment here. And then I was thinking that the other questions that we were looking at, here, these are some of the questions that we were looking at. You can feel free to either comment on these questions or specifically on our strategic goals. And so where I have here, I guess I have Amit, and then Chris and Hugh. You can go that direction, or if you want to do in a different way, but I thought that might be a good way for us to get started.
Yeah, that's fine, Glenda. This is Amit Pramanik with the One Water Academy. So thank you for allowing us to introduce ourselves. Okay. Our mission is essentially to try to develop the workforce of the future. That's why I chose to join your group over here. It might help with the discussion if you could maybe share your screen in terms of those, because some of us might have missed a portion of your presentation.
That's very kind of you, because it would help if I actually hit the button called share, right?
Oh, okay.
How about now?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, good. So, so will you introduce? I love it. So, I guess tell more about your thoughts here.
Sure. Yeah, we got started essentially last year as a not-for-profit organization, primarily because we had the vision here through our founder, Hardeep Anand from Miami-Dade Utilities. He felt that the utility managers and key people were not being able to share information to others within their organization because there's a lack of time. There's a lot of silos within each of these organizations. How do we digitize all of that information that people are learning so that we can share that across the different silos? So it's a greater vision over here where we hope to capture knowledge, especially from people in the field, the operations side, and then share it amongst one another across the different silos. This could range from people working in the water profession, as well as those in the community who want to know about water, want to know about climate change, resilience, water infrastructure, pipe breaks, and so on. So a shared understanding of all of this is important to all, but where do we start? How do you share that information in a meaningful manner? So that's why we started. So that's what we are. We've launched our website. We have some digital learning platforms that we are hoping to create with content from subject matter experts in our field here. So again, it's all voluntary for now, but we hope to be able to capitalize on it where people would pay a minor subscription, say like a Netflix type of subscription, to try to learn from one another.
Okay. Yes, I'm familiar. I saw your website. It's I can see it really shaping up.
Yeah, it's slowly coming together. Thanks.
Yes, and I think I'm not sure if we met when we were in Florida.
We were, yes. I did meet you in the Arlington office when we first
started. Arlington, that's right. Yes. Okay. And so when you look at the work here, as we look at the center, the ERC, part of it too is how we might be able to collaborate with you as well, right?
Yes, correct.
So do you have any thoughts there?
Yeah, I see that this process is going to take at least 2 to 3 years before we get something that's tangible and could be digitized and put through our platforms, right? Because there's a bit of groundwork required over here, assuming NSF funding comes through, ERC gets established.
Actually, Ahmed, we have to figure out, we have to be able to say, what is it that we want to do as part of the center? as we put this proposal together.
Oh,
So
that'll be perfect. Yes. What we want to do is ensure that the knowledge that we're capturing through the ERC is digitized in a way that can be shared across different communities they're hoping to serve. And I think one of the slides that were presented was all of those different communities and how we can cross those barriers across those communities. So how do we share that information? So that's one of the biggest barriers. The barrier is to break it, make it seamless. So somebody who is outside of the water industry, a private citizen, for example, would be able to get that knowledge. So that is, I think, one of the top barriers I feel. But within the workforce of a water utility, uh, there are people who come from different backgrounds. One might be an electrician, one might be a mechanical engineer, one might be the plant operator who turns on the valves and so on and so forth. But he or she needs to know what the others are doing within the same treatment facility and why they're doing what they're doing. So how do you share that information across the entire utility? Just a couple of thoughts, random thoughts here. I didn't want to hog the presentation. I mean, I didn't want to hog the time here, though.
no, that's okay. Your thoughts are never random, but that's really good. I really appreciate that. Okay, and so would like to move to Chris.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I
And if
work with the city.
Yeah.
I don't know if everyone can hear me at
Yes, Chris.
this time. Okay, so basically I am with the City of Houston's Houston Water Department. I'm part of the planning group with the contract section. And so the Houston Water has, been trying to implement the One Water principles and learning more about it. So whenever I heard about this conference, I became part of it to hopefully learn a little bit more about implementing a lot of those ideas into our workflow and how we look at data. That's like what you were mentioning before about having the information siloed. Definitely a case of what I've seen. I've only been with the city for about a year now, and that's definitely an obstacle just because anytime you even have like a pretty straightforward question or something that sounds pretty straightforward, it usually takes a lot of time just collecting that data in order to make those decisions. And especially whenever you want to have a faster turnaround time, it will be very valuable to have that information more accessible, and that way everyone's also on the same page, because consistency is also very important. So definitely, hoping that I can do my small part in trying to implement those principles and how I work, and hopefully, everyone can be helped by that.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Nice example. Hugh?
Hi, everybody. Hugh Sinclair from WSSC Water. So this is a topic that I've been trying to broach for a long time. I think one of the major challenges that we face in workforce development and water utilities is the mere fact that we don't have clear strategic focus. I think, when we speak of silos, the silos are really just emblematic of the fact that there's not a clear uh, industry, and then that goes down to a lot of utility-wide strategy in terms of what's the purpose of the organization and a clear understanding of that, how all the pieces fit in, and inherently what gets baked into the water environment is because it is an essential service, the need for innovation and thereby efficiency in operation somewhat gets lost in the fact that we're really just trying to achieve the delivery of quality water. I think in terms of the workforce, I think what we have right now is really a 3 generations that are disconnected, which are really emblematic of the stagnation and the inertia within the workforce. We have I would consider to be a legacy perspective of where water utilities are. We have a lot of people who were then, through the stability of the utilities, somewhat disattached and very role oriented and not necessarily strategically oriented. And then we have the disruptors on the other end. We're really trying to shift the paradigm and move it forward. To bring all three together, I think what would be beneficial from this effort here is to really define what are the necessary impact points, skills, and resources that are needed from personnel for water utilities. I think too much of our utility roles are defined on a tactical level, but not at a strategic level. And in that sense, we tend not to necessarily be pulling the weight of, I'd say, the recruitment that we should be pulling. And in that, I think we're suffering from the fact that we are really a very complex operation, but are not seen on the cutting edge of where workforce impact would be. So many people, because of the lack of understanding of what it takes to actually deliver and treat water, tend to, undercut its value. And you need that, especially in trying to pull younger talent in, highly valuable talent to come in. And I think part of that as well is the fact that intrinsically we have to understand the partnership between how do we outsource certain skill sets and what intrinsically needs to be inside the utility. So, yeah.
Wow, that was very good. Because they were just talking about that. Like, for example, a data scientist, do I need to outsource that skill set or try to maintain it? But it all goes back to what I hear you saying, that if you don't have a strategic direction for what you want for your organization, it's hard to determine that. What's that?
Yeah, I mean, the point of it is utilities inherently are very tactical in nature,
Okay.
So you take day-to-day, responding to crisis or responding to regulatory changes, but in terms of the overall strategic outline, there's not enough of that that's being shared. So when somebody onboards into a utility, usually the gap is that they walk in and they don't necessarily have a clear understanding as to what's next. What's the target that we're trying to do? What are we trying to do above and beyond what is actually, the core of what we consider it to be. And I think really most of that is firmly rooted in the fact that we really don't understand that we're in a service-oriented business platform and not necessarily just solely into a product delivery platform. And I think that's really the disconnect, where many of the things that we're trying to do in terms of innovation are focused around reestablishing the understanding of what is level of service, not just getting water into the pipe, but how you get it into it, the resources and the overall customer engagement, utility engagement structure that's around that. I think that in itself will go a long way in terms of redefining what that is, and also defining what pieces are valuable to get in the end goal.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. Jimmy? Or
Yes, can you hear me?
yes, I can now.
Awesome. My name's Jimmy. I work for the Dallas Water Utilities. I'm a water treatment plant supervisor, and I'm here to really learn everything. Y'all are bringing up some really good topics, and hiring and retaining new talent coming in is a issue that I've been struggling with for a while. So I'm really just trying to take it all in.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Jimmy. Shiraz?
Hi, y'all. This is Shahruz Garimi. I'm a research staff in the University of Texas at El Paso. I had an internship with Carlo engineers in Phoenix, Arizona, that they were developing softwares to help utilities for the decision-making process and optimizing their costs. I'm here to learn more about OneWater. This is something that is attracting me, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. Harrison?
Hey there. Sorry I joined late. The question is what, basically introduction and an obstacle I see to the water workforce issue?
Oh, let me make sure. Yeah, if you see any barriers, we were also looking at, can you still see the screen now?
Not
Did it
yet.
change?
I
Okay.
see all the participants on my screen.
Oh, maybe I'm not sharing anymore. Okay. Okay. So really, you can look at either the short, mid, long term,
Got it.
or we were talking about some barriers. You know, if you.
Okay. Well, all the above. So I am Steve Harrison. I'm Senior Manager of Operator Programs at the Water Environment Federation. Yeah, any of those things, but I guess in particular to me, something we need to overcome is a lack of visibility for these jobs. I think, as Hugh mentioned, I think most customers, you know, they don't appreciate the complexity of the effort required to provide clean water and sanitation services to their communities. So they probably overlook it as a career. And you know, we're on the wastewater side of things, and you know, the plants are at the end of a dirt road outside of town. The pipes are underground. We spend millions of dollars a year on odor control. You know, the industry has gone to a great deal of effort to make itself invisible, and regrettably, it has succeeded. So I think, again, enhancing the visibility of these jobs and perhaps somehow getting people entering the workforce that think they want to do policy and advocacy work to consider careers in operations, because I think that's the most direct and meaningful contribution they can make to the stewardship of our most important resource.
Okay, could you say that again? I didn't quite capture that. So you said if they wanted to enter in to do policy work?
Yeah, policy, people that are considering careers in conservation
Oh, got it.
and think that they want to do policy and legislative type work that probably have never considered working at a water resource recovery facility.
Yes.
Talking about preservation of that resource, I think that is the thing you can do that will have the most impact.
Okay.
And I guess that goes along with the fact that, you know, as many of you know, with operators, typically if you ask an operator how they got in the business, they're going to say, my uncle worked there. I think that there's not a clearly illuminated pathway into this industry for operations personnel. And if we could enhance that, we would do a better job of making it a destination career rather than something people happen upon.
Nice. Okay, Walter. Oh, his mic might still have problems. Okay, so let me. Okay, so if we.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Okay, good.
Okay, yeah, my headset quit working. What was the question? I'm sorry.
We've just gone through, and I wanted to see if you had, as we facilitate these questions, we've had some great topics, and so we just had the one comment about, especially when we look at operators beginning their career. You ask how did they get involved with the career? Why did they choose their career? They may say that a family member, their uncle, you know, told them about the job. So it's, you know, it's they happen upon it versus making it a destination, intentional that I want to work there. So I thought that was you know, it goes back to that advertisement and awareness of the water workforce.
Yeah. I don't have anything to add to that statement.
Yeah, no, but that was, I guess if we talk about the moving the conversation to what should the ERC do in this space, and you know, part of that was looking at you know, sharing, you know, capturing data and being able to share the data so that it's not siloed, that we can share it across. So that it's not just in one aspect of the sector. But do you have any other, so one other idea that we talked about was having this, want to get your feedback on this as we look at this integrated, like a digital workforce institute, where this is an umbrella organization where we can do some of the initiatives that we're talking about. And so anyone can speak up as to what your thoughts are about us creating this umbrella organization to be able to do the, training for that, innovative skill set or organizational culture work or managing some of the knowledge management, the information management.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I think what Dave Zombach said, engage in new communities outreach. So, there's been efforts to have websites devoted strictly to water sector jobs, which is good for people in the sector, but we're trying to, we're competing against people outside the sector. As I mentioned this morning, Amazon was advertising for people with water sector experience specifically to help work with some of their data centers. So, we got to, not only we competing for digital skills with them, now they're actually looking for people with specific water sector skills. So, yeah, we need to cast a wider net.
If I may, I think what Steve brought up is actually a good point, valid point in terms of visibility in our sector and how do we attract people into the industry. And that starts, I think, at the school level, the K-12 level. And perhaps one way that we could help increase the visibility is to provide internships or some information to school teachers so that they can share with their students the fact that the water sector is quite sexy to work in. You can actually do a lot for your community by just maybe interning, maybe a summer or something at a water utility, and better understand how you as an intern are helping society. And that could in turn lead through word of mouth to others, or people who may be considering a career. So they don't just get it from their uncles or their family members, but they get it from teachers who they highly respect when they're young. And perhaps this Digital Workforce Institute might help develop the curriculum that teachers can use in the K-12 education. And maybe they can reach out to their water utilities within that community and ask for opportunities for their students to go and serve as an intern for a summer or so. The efforts by WEF and other organizations to that are participating in the Stockholm Water Prize is quite good. The Junior Water Prize is actually creating the buzz among highly, very bright young students about why the water sector is so important. So I think more of this buzz is needed, but it needs to be structured in a perhaps more meaningful manner.
Could you say again? You said the efforts by WEF, what was it? The junior?
WEF, yeah, Water Environment Federation. I think they are a co-sponsor for the Stockholm Junior Water Prize.
Oh, Junior Water Prize. Okay.
Right. And that is creating some visibility. I think the recent winners over the past 5 to 10 years have been really bright individuals, bright young professionals, and teams that are working on water sector challenges.
Yeah, something you were saying there, Amit, while you're talking about internships and stuff. I was out walking the dog in my neighborhood about a month and a half ago, and there was a camera crew out there doing some CCTV work. And while they were had a spare minute, I was talking to them a little bit, and they were really excited about the work they did. They liked it a lot. I wonder if there's some sort of along the intern line is publicizing when these crews are going to be in these neighborhoods and have some sort of liaison where kids in the neighborhood could kind of see what's going on out there, see it in action.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know um, this was pretty interesting that, you know how they have the signing days for athletes within the high school?
Yes.
They have career signing days now for students who manage to obtain a certificate. It's similar to the old vocational education where it might be in auto mechanics, yet now people can get it in nursing or and if there's a way to get a certificate in the water field for different aspects, that might be another way that the academy or the institute could work, building upon what you're saying, and building with the high school or building with the local community.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, here's another idea, Amit, that now that you got me thinking about the high schools again. When my son was in high school, they had to do some community service credits or something
Yeah,
like that.
right.
How about having them go out with a supervised cruise out working and get some community credit hours like that, actually watching what goes on with the utility workers out doing various tasks.
Yeah, that's an
That's a good
excellent thought.
idea.
Yeah, in fact, in our high school here in the Howard County, Maryland area, there is some credits provided for that. I remember taking even about 10 years ago the Cub Scout troop over to local water treatment plant.
Oh,
So
nice. Yeah.
they found that quite exciting. So yeah, I like this, the community engagement. This is the ways, I mean, we can reach out to the younger folk here. And that's what we need for the workforce of the future.
Yeah, because I mean that kind of stuff is cool to kids. I mean they like that stuff, and it might just be a spark for them to want to do, maybe not do the field work, but be involved in it in some way.
Yep.
At least it puts working at a utility in their mind, because I went to speak to a college class a couple of years ago, and I asked, first thing I did was ask if anybody ever thought about working in the water sector, and nobody raised their hand.
Yeah, they
And
didn't even know what
eventually I
water
got
sector was.
yeah, well, it was in an engineering class too, and eventually it turned out a couple of them had done some work at the local utility, but they didn't volunteer it until they were kind of pressed for it a little bit. And then of course one of them had a friend whose brother or somebody worked at the utility, so that got them talking a little bit. But in the colleges too, there's not really in the engineering departments, at least one I went to, water sector really wasn't a consideration for career choice.
Yeah, I think, and Steve, I think that's your word, right? It wasn't it's not a destination career. We need to change that. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think Steve was
Yeah,
mentioning that.
absolutely. Like I said, typically operators certainly tend to end up in the industry unintentionally. And we need to make people understand that, that these are not mundane public works jobs. These are, utterly crucial green collar careers, and, getting people again to understand their value and the triple bottom line benefits of this line of work.
Okay, that sounds good. I know that in my learning about the sector, that the salaries tend to be higher at the entry level than any of the other sectors. They tend to run higher until you get up to the leadership or management level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to enhance stuff like that too, because I mean, if, you're never going to be a millionaire, but you're also, like I am fond of saying, for the operations careers anyway. I mean, here we got the nation looking at what, $1.5 trillion in student debt, and here this industry has tens of thousands of jobs that are green jobs that don't rely on legislative subsidy. They're STEM cluster jobs that don't require a bachelor's degree. They pay family sustaining wages. They're largely immune to economic externalities, and they cannot be outsourced. This is a mill that's never going to close.
It's just going to be reinvented, right?
Yeah, and I think that's another thing we need to examine is, the industry's moving beyond mere pollution mitigation and to things like resource recovery. So it's going to become more complex. So the job of the operator is going to be more complex. And so we do need to find a way to attract candidates that maybe have skills beyond some of those of their present peers. And I think all this, smart water stuff is certainly contributing to that. And I think it makes it seem like a more compelling career to people that may have been dubious about it in the past.
I think we need to look at more than just operator attraction, though, because I mean that's, of course, they're vital. If the utility doesn't have the operator and the people that actually handle the assets on a day-to-day basis, nothing happens. But the whole structure of the organization, the whole data savvy generation has come along, of which, of course, all the operators and people with handle the assets, of course, they're more data savvy than their predecessors. But also within the management structure of the utility and the new positions that are being created or will be created in the utility, that's where there's a real effort to try to attract people that would be normally going to Google, Microsoft, Amazon, that sort of stuff. And so that's a real battleground there that utilities have to come up with a way to attract people that's not strictly based on money, because we can't compete with those companies just on a salary basis. But some of the things Steve was saying, like you end up with it'll probably be kind of immune to any economic shocks, things of that nature. So and they'll be able to do good and possibly do well in the long run as well. Because people want an interesting job too. They don't just want something they show up in 8 hours and go home every day.
Okay. Oh my, how much time, are we good on time?
We go until what, 3:30?
Oh, okay, is it?
Is it?
Oh, is it 3:50? Okay, well, if you looked at an organization and, well, let me see if maybe I can do it this way. If anyone can answer this, what keeps you up at night, and how might then a service or work within the center be able to help with that?
I'll just venture one, which is our graying workforce. A lot of people are going to be leaving our sector within the next decade or so, and we really don't have the workforce that we need coming into our industry to run those plants and manage those operations here. So that's just one I'm throwing out there, but that's something everybody knows.
I would add, I guess, in connection with that is, I forget how it's typically indicated on slides, but professional development for operators in the workforce to replace all of those people that Amit just described. So more of that soft skills training to get them prepared to inherit the management and leadership jobs in the industry.
Okay. What about, the retiring folks, people leaving, and the whole knowledge management retention? Does any of that keep you up at night?
Yeah, that's what I meant by the folks that are going to be retiring, actually. We're leaving our workforce. That's what keeps us up at night.
Oh, okay. I missed that then.
Yeah, absolutely. I would also like to throw my 2 cents in there. We mentioned, vocational programs in high schools and you know, they have stuff for like building trades and electricians and things like this for high school students. Well, why don't we have some programs like that for water operations or field operations or something with these kids that can come in, you know, during the week, and by the time they graduate high school, they're pretty much seasoned and ready to hit the ground running when we hire them.
Okay. That sounds good. So let's move the conversation a little along towards organizational culture change. You know, that came up a couple of times about needing to think differently to embrace this movement. Um, do you think, how do you think organizations are going to be able to um, learn how, or do you see that there's a role for us to be able to help organizations learn how to embrace the change? Moving towards a smart one water or digital workforce or digital utility. Okay, Shane had to leave the room. See, that's the problem I have with being on Zoom. I guess I can put I'm like, okay, put the video up. It's hard to see and then read a picture for where folks are.
I guess all I have to contribute is I know that the industry has a reputation for being slow to embrace change.
Okay. That's good. I mean, just.
So I'm not offering a solution to overcome that, but.
Sure. So as these aren't necessarily guiding questions, it's just filling in. If you have anything additional to add to the space. And so I think you.
Well, I think the graying workforce that Amit referred to is all up and down the utilities. So I mean, it's possible as we get new leaders into the utilities that the perception of the industry being very risk averse might change some as well, because they're going to realize that they got to do something different to attract the talent that they need to continue operation and, you know, provide a service that their customers require.
Okay. All right. I think that these, Walter, let me know if you have any more questions. I think that we have done a nice job. And I see Amit, yes, I will. He's going to rejoin in the main room. So I think that you know, with Steve and Chris, want to check in. If you guys have any more final thoughts, that would be great. If not, then we'll just see you all back in the main room. And Jimmy, I see you there as well. If you don't have any other, because I think we really have some bullet points and thoughts that we'll be able to share in the main room that are very relevant and important for us. Walter, did you have any other thoughts, or do you think we're good to go back to the main room, or what?
I think we kind of worked over what we tried to do there. Amit, do you have any other ideas?
Amit, he had he had to leave for another meeting.
Oh, okay.
And Shiraz, he had to jump off for another meeting too.
So it's just me and you?
Well, Steve and Chris,
Yes, I'm still here.
yeah, and Jimmy's still here too.
Okay, well, they should have some ideas, some other things that they want to see.
Well, I think that it's been mentioned a few times about the growing workforce. I'm relatively young compared to my cohorts at the city. So hopefully, as we transition into a different generation of workforce, a lot of these, usually that's a little easier to implement new ideas to adapt. So, it might, instead of being seen as a crisis, hopefully it can be seen as an opportunity. That way, uh, the services that we have related to water can actually do a better job serving the community that is changing all the time. So that's why I try to do what I can to be knowledgeable about some of these principles. It's always going to be difficult to capture everything, especially with institutional knowledge. But hopefully, that's something that we can learn to do as we go.
Yeah, I think there's also a management issue too, is where there's different generations in the workforce in general, and utilities are no different. And different generations have different expectations about what they want out of work. And if the management of a utility is just managing everybody in the same way, then it's going to have some issues trying to retain talent unless they're kind of, because I believe Anas was talking about culture, getting to fit the culture, or
Yeah, cultural fit and cultural added.
Yeah, and if it's just going to be where they try to make you fit, then you're not going to retain your talent, as long as if you realize there's different aspirations, and then that employee value proposition where you were making, not a contract, but you're saying, okay, we will let you, we will give you this, or you can do this, and in return we expect this. So it's really like the uh, relationship between the employer and employee, and almost you could think of it in a kind of looking out, kind of way out, is treating the employee as a customer, and the customer gets certain services and has to supply certain services in return. So again, it's the employer-employee relationship model changing, and that's a culture issue right there.
Okay. Yeah, the one part that I was looking at too is how we might have that intersectionality with the other pillars and with the governance and policies. Did either of you see any touch points with that pillar? Okay. Um, so with the, I know with the innovative ecosystem, because of the type of work there, there's some touch points for the jobs of the future. And then the other, Walter, we talked a little bit about this, and that, do we want to always, maybe we could have the Institute to always be looking ahead so we know what that work might look like, continue to look like 20 years out or 10 years out, to be able to predict that so that we can grow the workforce to be able to meet it. It's not sure how far ahead that we can get, but being able to have that innovative approach.
Yeah, well, you can have people just, get some groups of personnel or consultants or whoever's interested in the industry to try to predict the future, what it's going to look like. We know there's going to be certain things. We know the utility is going to be a digital utility. We know it's going to be a digital watershed. So it's really, once you figure out, to the best of your ability, what the future utility is going to look like, then you can start trying to plan about how do you get a workforce that's going to be ready when the future does come, realizing that we're already behind in this area. So, we don't want today's workforce for tomorrow's utility.
Oh, that's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're not really hiring for today, we're hiring for tomorrow. You're not hiring whatever position you're hiring for. You don't expect them in 10, 15 years to be doing what they were doing 10 or 15 years ago. Like what they're doing today, will they be doing the same thing 10 to 15 years from now? Probably not.
How did you phrase that, Walter? You said you don't
hire today's don't hire today's workforce for tomorrow's utility, I guess. I think that's what I said, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but thank you anyway.
It's easy to remember though. But
yeah,
exactly.
Nails it.
That's exactly right. Okay, we'll lead with that.
Well, Glenda, you were talking about typewriters and word processors this morning, I think it was, right?
Yes, I was.
So that's, you don't want to hire people that are really good at typewriters when you know that the, word processors on the horizon are already here.
Already here, yeah. I was, even when I was thinking about that, I'm thinking, do they even do typing tests anymore? Not for the job. So, and so the typing test is online now, which was interesting. So
it is?
Yes. So I realized I typed 47 words per minute, and I didn't even know before, when I was in typing in high school years ago, I have no idea what a regular, score is. And that was something that people knew, that, and I never forget my mom said, you need to make sure you have that typing class because you'll always be able to get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, we type more than ever nowadays. And I mean, I'm certainly use a few fingers. That's about it. I wish I probably should have learned how to type at some point.
But see, and so, Steve, this is the point that I was making, is that then it pushed the work to the individual instead of because we're connected, instead of to the typing pool, to the person who would type. Just all that person did was type for folks. But now you can edit your document from your phone now, so it's the type of work evolved and changed over the years, as we all know.
And it doesn't necessarily, and one of the things that someone asked me one time about, all this moving to the digital future and stuff, about worried about being put out of a job. Really, as we undergo the digital transformation, it's just freeing us up to do higher value work. It's not putting anybody out of the job. Instead of driving out to check meters, you don't have to do that anymore, and you can be doing something that has more value to it. For just one example.
Towards a higher skill and efficiency, I guess, right?
Well, you just, the work you do has it's a higher value. It's more value to you because you're not doing something mundane, and it's more value to the employer because you're not spending time. Think about it. You drive around a neighborhood looking at meters all day. You know, so that you got a vehicle that you got to drive around to do that. You're stopping and starting constantly. So you got like a vehicle cost. You have insurance for driving a vehicle around. You could have an accident. All these things now you just pop it up on a, you know, a terminal somewhere, and you can tell everybody's, you know, consumption. You can hit another button, it prints out a bill and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, it's kind of, you know, that sort of thing.
Yeah, okay. So what I'm going to do, I think that we are good. This will give us some time. Also, I think, Walter, for us to summarize the report for the breakout. Give us a little more. I don't have the time. So I think that we have some good. Yeah, we can use that extra 12 minutes to write up our, you know, unless there's some other comments, I think we're good.
Okay.
And so, you know, Chris and Steve, if you guys aren't familiar with Zoom, you can click leave the breakout room and it would take you back to the main room.
Okay, doke. We'll see you there. Thank you.
All right, thank you both for participating. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And
Yeah.
Thank you, Glenda. Appreciate it.
all right, perfect. So how would you all like to, I can give you guys control too, so we can figure out how do you want it, or maybe I can.
I'm already a co-host, so I guess you
Wait.
can leave, Glenda.
Oh, so give Walter co-host too, in case he wants to share something.
Do
So
what during the reporting?
yeah, well, your
No,
notes.
I'm recording it online. I mean, I'm recording it on my computer. Actually, I'll upload this to the website later.
Right, but we have to report out, so we have to at least make some bullet points of what we want to share out. I guess I have to, because that's what I'm. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so it's from that perspective, some of the key pieces that emerge. It's pretty much what we presented, but I like your point that I want to, you know, we don't want to hire today's workforce for tomorrow's utility. People like that, so that's.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know a lot of times this workforce stuff gets right down to just hiring operators. It's got to be more than that.
Right.
You know, that is just today. You know, that's today's thinking. You know, operators are always in demand, and people handling assets. You know, and electricians and these sort of things. These guys, if they do electrical work for an electric company, they certainly can do it for a utility as well. Or maybe you want to outsource it. So I mean, if there's outsourcing issues too. You know, there's certain jobs that utilities have to have, and there's certain jobs that maybe they want to outsource. So, you know, the workforce planning, if you have a, you know, I'm just thinking out loud now, if you have something that might not make sense to keep in-house, maybe you want to outsource it. I don't know. One of the things we're talking about here in this whole Smart One Water ERC is data. You know, that's essentially, we're proposing to outsource all their data management issues to some degree.
I didn't quite understand that though, Walter. So when Ken asked about the higher salaries for like the data scientists, and then Sunil said, well, are they saying that they would be able to contract at the ERC for that skill set? Is that what?
No, well, it's just higher salaries. I mean, the data analysts and the scientists and the you know, the really data-oriented people, they have a lot of different options, and utilities certainly need them, and there's a lot of opportunity for them to do things, but the pay is not there.
Right, but wait, I don't know if you were on or not, but then Sunil was saying that, well, and I guess Kent, they liked it that, well, you would not need to hold that salary line because that salary line could be held at the ERC, the center, and then it's just, you can just outsource it, I guess. Maybe that's what.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I might have missed that part.
Yeah, but management of different generations and what they want out of work, the issue of the cultural, organizational cultural fit versus the cultural add. But I was looking at the barrier that it seemed, maybe you can help me put some language around it. About the private citizen to get knowledge, that was about sharing the data. I think Amit was talking about that, this whole aspect of knowledge share, being able to capture the knowledge. He said, ensure that the knowledge that we capture through the ERC can be shared across the community. Is that high enough, or maybe I'm not capturing what he?
Sorry, I'm not sure what he was getting at there exactly.
Yeah, I think he was getting at, like, knowledge management and how well, I was reading about this in places and how, let's say, well, I guess he would have to really frame it a little more, but what about the green workforce? People are not coming into the work sector to, I wasn't able to capture all of that right, but they were talking about the green workforce.
I think they were just making it not from just people want to work in environment business.
Oh, I got it now. Yes,
I
yes,
think
yes.
is what he was getting at there.
Yes.
Again, that's about making the sector attractive to people that are naturally inclined to want to work in the environmental business to begin with. And Hugh had some good points at the beginning. I saw he dropped off. He's really he can really talk quite eloquently about all this stuff too.
I know. I was listening to him.
He's a real star, I'll tell you.
Yes, I was thinking. I'm like, how can I capture that verbatim? But it was visibility. I think that was the, making the sector visible. I think that's.
Yeah.
Increase the visibility to the sector.
Yeah, I mean, Amit was talking a little bit about internship, and then that kind of got me thinking about high school credits and stuff, community service credits. If you could have supervised, travel with some of the crews or to a utility, location and spend some time there and learn about how things work. That could be and you could even have some of these mini sessions, as far as reaching high school students, and it's not just, people want to be operators, data scientists, high school kids, that are they're good at computing and things like that. They can go look and say, hey, you can go to this utility and you got mounds of data. So it's really, the high schoolers it's not just the ones that don't want to go to college.
Oh, exactly. That's why that whole career signing day, my daughter received her CNA and she wants to be a physician.
Uh-huh.
So I can see that. I really can.
I think another thing though, is we place a lot of emphasis on having college degrees to do things. I think there's a lot of positions that don't require a college degree, period.
That's correct.
And I would say data workers like data analysts and data scientists, perhaps. I mean, heck, you can take online courses to learn that stuff. And there are even, there's even some of these, I can't remember who was, somebody was offering prizes for, or
Yeah.
offering cash prizes to learn how to do something without going to college. You know, they were offering like $100,000 if you could, you know, launch yourself into a career without going to college or something. I can't remember exactly what this was about, but I remember something like that. So, you know, people want college degrees, but you know, you don't need a college degree to do a lot of things.
Yeah, I looked up that whole Amazon, and that was pretty interesting. The, you know, their cloud services for the gas and utility sector.
Uh-huh. You know, and I don't know where I did I send you that slide deck that I took the advertisement from?
No, but I found the work though. I went out there.
Yeah.
I put that link in there
Uh-huh.
for it. I could see it because it was I could see how they would then work for a Amazon Web Services in the gas and utility sector that they have there on from off their website. Um, so any other comments? Is it Harzi? Probably butchered your name.
No, that's correct. I mean, that's all I have written down as well. I mean, you have covered everything. I mean, Walter briefed everything else actually. Except one thing that, I mean, Amit was talking more about the digitalization of the knowledge that was not mentioned in the Walter's comments. Other than that, he mentioned everything else. And also, I mean, the immune to the economic recessions and the green jobs and all that items which I mean, Stephen Harrison discussed, and also Walter Graf commented on that.
Do you have more about the green jobs versus how did you capture it?
So he just mentioned that, I mean, they are more green. I mean, these are like the water sector jobs are more green jobs and STEM cluster jobs without a college degree. And that's what he mentioned. I didn't write anything else about it.
Okay.
And also, Jimmy actually gave comments about there are no vocational programs about water operations or field operations for high school, or like for any diploma programs are not available in that areas like they do for electricians or carpenters.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And also, Amit talked about like the teacher training programs about the water sector and the Stockholm Junior Water Prize. Initiatives like that, how they can help young kids to get motivated towards the water jobs.
I need to probably group that under like, you know, it's sort of like growing the talent and
Yep. Yeah, all these can come under growing the talent, and maybe after hiring, the job security and that stuff can be put under the green jobs, the debts and the jobs available in the water sector, all that discussion.
so what's the other label for the other one you say? I have grown the talent.
Job, other one is the job security in water sector, and then the discussion can start with the student debts and the jobs available in the water sector, and how the water sector jobs are immune to economic recessions, and how they are better because almost all the water sector jobs are green jobs, and they might not require like very technical skills, and maybe a high school degree is good enough.
Then we want to talk about though how though that whole data science, you know, that then I can add Walter's comment that we want to hire for today's, we don't want to hire today's workforce for tomorrow's utility. So we need to look at how to
Yep, that's
plan.
it. That sounds great, actually. After this, you can talk about the data and how to capture the knowledge in terms of how to digitalize the knowledge from the people, especially who are retiring. We need to capture that knowledge to pass on to the next generations.